We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today, and shall we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the war. The government has been bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekdaily morning show where we bring you the latest in everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about what the industry insiders are saying. I am very, very excited with how well we have done over the last 8 years. And in doing so, I have met just about everybody that you can think of in the industry. And today I want to talk a little bit about what their perspective is on 2026. And you're going to find that it's interesting that it lines up very similarly with what we ourselves in our technical analysis are seeing. And it is something that is very interesting to me because, you know, if you want to learn about how a car works, you go and ask an expert mechanic. If you want to learn about how the heart works, you go and ask the world leading cardiologist. If you want to learn about how anything works, you go and ask the experts about that particular thing. If you want to know about what the likelihood of a hurricane hitting Florida is, then you'll go and talk to someone who's been doing meteorology for 30 years. And in this case, I know a lot of the people that are in the industry, and they're all basically saying the same thing about 2026. So today, I'm not going to tell you who, but I'm going to tell you exactly what they're saying. You guys are going to have to trust me a little bit that I'm not, just making this up, because obviously somebody could just come on here and say, well, Jeb, the industry insiders are saying this, and they could just be completely making it up. So I'm going to ask you to just trust me and look in the past. Have I been honest with you? We've gotten some calls right. We've gotten some calls wrong. I'm never going to lie to you. But what I am wanting to share with you is that, interestingly enough, most people have the exact same prediction behind the scenes, and these are the kind of people that really, I think, understand what is going on in the market because they have more data than just about anybody. So really excited to talk about that today. So let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Is in chat. Rocket Race is in chat. Kill the Robots is in chat. Consuelo Davila is in chat. Midnight HK. Zajalva is in chat. Law's in chat. Mark is in chat. Jay. Martine Siebels. Good to see you, my friend. Papa Guth is in chat. Good to see all of you guys. Hey, we got a lot to cover, so let's get started. Bitcoin, as you know, is right here on the very doors of a bear market. Bitcoin has, for the first time in a multitude of years, broken below the 50 weekly moving average. The last time that we saw Bitcoin break below the 50 weekly moving average was back here in January of 2022, and that sent us straight into a bear market. It was the gate to the bear market. We also, of course, saw Bitcoin drop below the 50 weekly moving average here on the 21st of May in 2018, sent us into a bear market. Similarly, we saw the same thing happen here when we dropped through the 50 weekly moving average right here on this very significant red candle, which led us into, you guessed it, a bear market in 2014. If you look at all of the different technical indicators, you will find that there is every single reason to believe that a bear market is starting. You have a bearish MACD cross on the monthly chart, which is a very reliable indication that you are once again going into a bear market. You can see all the times that we have seen that kind of bearish MACD cross transpire, we have indeed seen a bear market form. You see that? Like, there are a large number of reasons to believe that Bitcoin is going into a 4-year halving cycle bear market right now. So why then, Jeb, have you been of the opinion that the 4-year halving cycle is dying? Here's why. This is a fundamentally different market than it was in the past. And this is not just something that I'm saying. This is what all of our contacts believe as well. It's not really that hard for you to figure out who I'm talking about. I'm not going to tell you who, but it's not really that hard for you to figure out who I'm talking about. We talk to sponsors, we talk to other big influencers, we talk to all kinds of people in the crypto space all day long. Like, that's my whole job, is to network, do research, trade, make content. That's my whole thing. And that's our team's whole thing, is networking and understanding what the industry trends are. Basically, everyone that we talk to who knows what they're doing, they have their foot to the, they have their ear to the ground. I'm talking exchanges, I'm talking big names. They all are anticipating that this time is different. You know, the funny thing about the phrase "this time is different" is that it is generally a foolish thing to say, because what you are saying is that a trend is breaking, and we could be wrong. The 4-year halving cycle is still intact until proven otherwise. So we have to believe in the 4-year halving cycle, but at the same time, we also have to understand that at some point, just like any cycle will break, the 4-year halving cycle itself will break. The question then becomes, is this that season? Because as I just showed you, there are a lot of technical indicators that show us that Bitcoin should be going into a bear market right now. MACD, RSI, 50 weekly simple moving average. All of these different indicators are showing a bear market. But what they're not showing is that this market is not the Wild West that it used to be. This is the entire history of the Bitstamp chart. In fact, let's go on to the BLX chart. This is the entire history of the entire Bitcoin, the entirety of Bitcoin's existence on the log chart. I got into Bitcoin here. I have been here for over half of charted history, watching this market and analyzing this market professionally for a living for over half of its existence. I have all authority to tell you whether or not this is a different market than it was. This is a fundamentally, significantly different market than it was during this bull market and during this bull market. And that's not to say that we can't have a bear market. That's not to say that Bitcoin can't do exactly what we've talked about, where if Bitcoin does break below our uptrend here on the regular chart, if we break below this uptrend here, right? Let's just kind of clean the chart up here a little bit. We don't need all these lines for the moment. If Bitcoin breaks below the bull market support uptrend, that's not to say that we can't go into a bear market. And in fact, all these people that I'm talking about, they see worst case scenario, Bitcoin dropping down to 75,000 in this kind of like broadening fan pattern here. Technically, that would be a confirmed bear market from all of our 4-year halving cycle bull market metrics. But when you look at the long term, when you look at the totality of what a bear market typically means, it typically means on the monthly, weekly to monthly chart, you're making lower lows. In that sense, if Bitcoin drops down to 75,000, it is a confirmed bear market based on the 4-year halving cycle definitions of the 50 weekly breaking, of the MACD cross bearish, etc. But really, is it really that much of a bear market if we just drop back down to the same level that we dropped down to earlier this year? By the way, here's another way that we can say that the 4-year halving cycle is in the middle of breaking. We never had a parabolic blow off top. Never happened. If Bitcoin's not going to have a parabolic blow off top, then why would it need a parabolic crash? It doesn't make sense. What makes more sense is Bitcoin having a linear correction, maybe down to $60,000 to $75,000 next year, and then rallying. So here's what I'm going to posit to you. Bitcoin over the next few weeks is going to be faced with a very, very critical decision. And that decision is whether or not this bearish momentum will trigger a full-blown bear market down to $75,000 or even significantly lower. If it does, then we're looking at price targets such as the 200 weekly simple moving average, which is right here, being dropped back down to. As you can see, that's where we fell back during the last 2 bear markets, right? That's what we would be expecting Bitcoin to fall back down to. That moving average is currently sitting at 55,000. Let's say we dropped a little bit below it. You could see a bear market bottom down to 50. Bitcoin bottoming at 50,000 when before it bottomed at 16,000 would be an absolutely beautiful sight to behold. If Bitcoin, let's say, rallied 600% off of 500,000, then of course you're looking at Bitcoin rallying up to, $300,000 in the next bull market. That would probably be in 27 to 28. So you're still looking at Bitcoin rallying substantially over the course of the rest of this decade. That's if that uptrend breaks. But if this uptrend holds, again, this is a linear chart uptrend. So since it's a linear chart uptrend, Bitcoin is growing according to the power law. It simply becomes easier to hold as time goes on. If that is the case, and it does hold this uptrend, then we would expect for Bitcoin to end up having a similar bounce off of this uptrend like we've seen recently, which generally speaking, when we bounce off of this uptrend, Bitcoin has rallied $50,000 to $60,000. So if we do manage to hold 94,000 on the uptrend here, we would be expecting Bitcoin to rally to at least 145,000, if not upwards of $165,000 next year. So I am of the opinion, and I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll eat it. But I'm of the opinion that Bitcoin is going to hold this uptrend. It might drop down to $88,000 at the lowest, but it'd be a quick wick down. We hold this uptrend and we rally on up to $150,000 in the first half of next year. And that is, generally speaking, what most of these contacts that we have that I want to talk about in this stream believe as well. They believe that the rest of Q4 and maybe some of Q1 could be bearish, maybe even a drop down to 75. But nobody in the industry that I can find is expecting that Bitcoin is going to go through an 80% correction like it did last time. A 77% correction like what we saw in the last bull market would drop Bitcoin down to $29,000. Absolutely nobody foresees that happening. But here's the deal. I actually hope that I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong, and I hope we go into a bear market. I hope that I'm wrong and Bitcoin drops down to 75. the Bitcoin drops down to 50? Because I have big targets. I have big goals about how much Bitcoin I want to acquire. And if Bitcoin does drop down to those levels, that makes it easier for me to acquire as many Bitcoin as I'm trying to get. Because my goal, and what I think your goal should probably be, is to be able to get your hands on as much Bitcoin as you can. So when you look out into the far distant future and Bitcoin's trading at a couple, several $100,000, if not over $1 million, you are able to build out some kind of major retirement. Let's say you're able to get to 1 Bitcoin. 1 BTC times $1 million per coin equals $1 million in Bitcoin, right? Multiply that by 0.04 to get a withdrawal rate. You could withdraw $40,000. Look at that. It actually plugged the number in for me. You can withdraw $40,000 a year like that. Okay? Let's go ahead and adjust the math. Let's say in the bear market you get to 4 Bitcoin. That means you have a $4 million portfolio at $1 million a coin. All of a sudden, you've got $160,000 a year income at $1 million a coin, and you can take a 4% withdrawal rate on Bitcoin in perpetuity, and you'll never run out. Assuming Bitcoin ends up having, assuming that Bitcoin ends up continuing growing at a decent rate. So, for example, let me just show you what that looks like. Let's say you have $4 million, $4 million investment in Bitcoin. Let's say you're not contributing anything anymore, and you want to live 30 years after you get to that point. Let's say it takes Bitcoin 15 years to get to $1 million a coin. Let's say you want to live 30, use it for 30 years after that, then you're expecting yourself to live until 2070, right? No interest rate variance. Estimated interest rate. Let's say the continual average growth rate on Bitcoin we estimate to be a very conservative 20%. Let's assume that. Take 4% off, 16%. Compound it monthly. Your investment is still growing, right? Let's do it like this. 24. If you don't touch it, you have $1.5 billion at 30 years. If you do take the 4% per year out, you still have $470 million at that point in time, 30 years from the time that you started retiring. So the point here is that we really need to begin with the end in mind. Who's ever read this book? Who's ever read this book? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you have not read this book, you need to. This is one of my favorite books that I've ever read in my entire life. Love this book. One of the habits, I forget which one. It's habit number 2. I think it might be habit number 2. Let's see. Yes, it's habit number 2. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. What are you trying to do? Why are you even trying to make money in Bitcoin? What's even the point? Why do you care? Here's why you care. Because of this. You're trying to build yourself a fixed income. That's the whole thing. It's the entire reason that you're doing it, is you're trying to build wealth that you can live on. Begin with the end in mind. Okay? If I want a $10 million Bitcoin portfolio, hell, if I want a $2 million Bitcoin portfolio, then that means that I need more Bitcoin than I have now, or I need to wait longer than I want to. If you begin with the end in mind, you realize that a bear market down to $50,000 is a good thing because you get twice as much Bitcoin for the same amount of money. And so if I'm wrong and Bitcoin doesn't go into super cycle, that actually is my preferred scenario. I hope Bitcoin goes into a bear market. I hope it does. And if it does, I'm thrilled. I'm sure if we go into a bear market, everybody's going to troll me and say, Jeb, you said we were going into super cycle. That's fine. I don't mind. Because that's what the data is telling me. That's what all the industry insiders are telling me, is that 75,000 is their low. The vast majority of what people behind the scenes are saying is that $75,000 is the lowest we'll go. And then from that point in time, Bitcoin has a relatively strong 2026, probably even further into the future than that. This is a fundamentally different industry than it was. Most people in the industry are looking for 5-10-year partnerships right now. They're not looking for, they're not looking for short-term stuff. They're looking for long-term. They have realized that this industry is significantly more mature because of the institutions. The institutions coming into Bitcoin have done a couple of things. Number one, they brought an enormous amount of structure to the market. Like, the institutions love this stair-step pattern, and they're not going to let it go anytime soon, because BlackRock would love for grandma to buy into this stair-step pattern and say, this is the pattern that we expect to happen. We expect this is what's going to happen. And they control the market and manipulate it like that. It is not in BlackRock's interest. It is not in Saylor's interest. It is not in Fidelity's interest. It is not in Donald Trump and family's interest. It is not in the federal government's interest for Bitcoin to go through a 70% correction ever again. And so what you end up seeing happen is when a market matures to the point where it's worth several trillion dollars, is that you have market manipulators intentionally, on purpose, and publicly manipulating the market to the upside. That's why the stock market, have you ever thought about that? Like, why does the S&P 500 just kind of go in a straight line up? Do you really think that's natural? Of course it's not. It's created. It's created. This is a creation. The reason that the market does this is because market makers have created that. And that's what they're trying to do with Bitcoin. They're trying to create the exact same, just up and to the right market. And so that's why you see over the last several months this kind of proto stair-step formation taking place. Doesn't this market, what the stock market is doing, kind of look a little bit like what Bitcoin has been doing? You don't see the S&P 500 go parabolic and blow up 2,000% in 6 months. That never happens, but it does happen in Bitcoin. And so what the market makers are doing, we've got like 13 Bitcoin ETFs that came online on the same day. What they're all trying to do is they're trying to distill Bitcoin down into a solid, steady, continual average growth rate of probably about 20 to 30%, because they really can grow that fast. Because then what they can do is they can market that to hundreds of millions of investors, and they are able to bring about significant investment in the fund, in the fund. I just said the fund in Bitcoin, and treat it like an index fund. Bitcoin, in a sense, therefore, becomes an index fund of the entire cryptocurrency space, and BlackRock, Fidelity, and all these other companies make the profit. They have a vested interest in Bitcoin not going down 70%. They're not going to let it happen. Everybody in the space wants volatility, but none of them want that. But none of them want this massive crash. So I mean, this is what I'm hearing from everybody that we do business with. I mean, look, it's really simple. Like, you can put two and two together. Who are we hearing this stuff from? Who are we hearing this stuff from? You know, I mean, everybody's saying it. It's really an open secret. That's what everybody thinks. I mean, Coinbase Institutional, like, let me give you an example. Like, this is why I'm just like, look, this is not some theory. Coinbase Institutional posted about this a little while ago. This is what I call outsider trading. We've talked about outsider trading, right? We did a post over on X a few weeks ago. President Trump says Bitcoin and crypto will skyrocket like never before, beyond your expectations. I reposted this and said, translation, I'm about to do something to manipulate the market higher and you should front run me. I call this outsider trading. He signals what he wants to do. It's up to you to listen. They are doing this. Everybody talks about like insider trading. What about when the market makers literally tell you what they're doing? Let's see, where was this? Coinbase Institutional posted something. Here, right here. Coinbase Institutional. October sell-off wasn't the end of the cycle. It may have been the reset it needed. Excess leverage was flushed, fundamentals remain intact, and institutional players are quietly rotating back in. They said the quiet part out loud. Smart money is clustering around EVM chains, RWAs, and yield protocols, pointing to selective re-risking, not retreating. Key takeaways. Leverage is cleaner, but liquidity gaps remain. Capital is rotating, not entering. Selectivity remains critical. Macro risks linger, but structural demand builds. This is what I'm hearing behind the scenes from everybody. This is not some let's just get your exit kind of thing that Coinbase put out here. I genuinely am confident that they're being honest with this. If you guys haven't read this, you should go read this entire report that they typed up. This is a fantastic report that, from my experience, seems to be accurate. And so what I'm anticipating is that we're going to see a very large growth in Bitcoin, and it's going to take some time before an alt season. This is why I've been so heavily positioned in Bitcoin. The largest percentage of our value that has been in altcoins in the last 3 years has been like 20%. I've been 80+% in Bitcoin that entire time because I knew that it was going to take a long time for us to see a major alt season after the Bitcoin ETFs came online. The reason being because the Bitcoin market is becoming adopted as a part of the institution's strategy. It's a major part of the products that they're offering at this point. It's going to take time before they want to rotate into investing in altcoins. It's going to take a few years before the altcoins start taking off and seeing this massive run, there was always going to be a delay in that because of just how much attention Bitcoin is getting from the ETFs. You cannot possibly overstate how important it is that ETFs went online. You can't do it. It's not possible. If you look at gold ETFs came online right here. This is when the gold ETF came online. This is the entire history before and after gold ETFs. Okay? When you look at Bitcoin, these runs all look huge. Bitcoin ETFs came online here. Have you noticed? We've been talking about this since the day the ETFs came online. In fact, before the ETFs came online, we've been talking about this on our channel. You're going to have a lot less volatility, a lot more market structure. Frankly, technical analysis on Bitcoin gets even easier in an environment like this. So that's what we're seeing happen. So what do we do about that? Here's what we do about that. Market makers and institutions have a vested interest in shaking out the weak hands and rewarding people that buy and hold Bitcoin and leave it alone. Leave it alone. If you're going all in on a trade, if you've got 20% of your net worth in a long trade and your lick is down at 91, congratulations, you're going to get screwed. You might pull it off one time, but the people that are actually going to make money, funnily enough, it's the same people that have always made money in Bitcoin, are the people that buy it, stick it in cold storage, and leave it alone. Should you trade? Sure, go and trade. Love it. With a smaller portion of your capital and keep the vast majority invested in the long term. Your trading portfolio is supposed to be an income. It's not investment. You need investment in the space. That's how you build wealth, is you make money and you squirrel it away and you leave it alone. You need to do whatever you can to destroy your sell button. Because if you're selling now, in 5 years, you're going to be really sad you did. Defend the position that you have by keeping adequate cash savings and understand that we are genuinely in a fundamentally different market than what we have been in. Do you remember our $94,000 call? We called for $94,000. Take a look here. Look at where Bitcoin dropped to, in case you want to know whether I know what I'm talking about. This is the 1 minute chart on Bitcoin Coinbase chart. This is 100K, right? Drop below 100K, going on. This is where we are right now. We call for $94,000 to $100,000. Bitcoin clipped $100,000, bounced there, and then as you can see right here, Bitcoin dropped right here at 3:57 in the afternoon yesterday. You can see the low, see the wick low right up here, to exactly $94,000. It perfectly bounced there. Went exactly where we said it was going to. And then it wicked down below 94, down to 93, 951 there for a couple of minutes over here at about 6 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. This correction could go as low as 75. But a 77% capitulation in a bear market is highly unlikely. If it does, you should be ready for it. We prepare at all times for a 75% drop on Bitcoin. When Bitcoin makes a new all-time high, that raises our worst-case scenario target. But we plan for it used to be 70%. I increased our risk management. We plan for a 75% crash on Bitcoin. When you're running a business, one thing you'll hear about is something called 50% revenue reduction plan. When we were going into COVID, I had a mentor who taught me, what are you going to do if your revenue drops by 50%? Everybody else in the room who heard that, who's running construction companies and they got like 2% profit margins on a bunch of different things, especially the people in medical, they're like crapping their pants. Like 50% revenue reduction? Are you freaking kidding me? No, I'm serious. You need to have a plan for that. Like, what is your 75% price reduction plan on Bitcoin? Are you going to lose your net worth if that happens? Fix it. You need to maintain a portfolio that puts you in a place where if Bitcoin goes through a massive crash and it drops 75%, you're happy about that. Seriously. We called 94,000. It happened. Now I'm here to tell you that if Bitcoin does not bounce hardcore off of the 90 to 94 range, you're going to see 75. If we do not get a strong bounce off of this uptrend, this is my line in the sand, this zone right here. If we do not get a strong bounce off of this uptrend, and yeah, we could drop down and fill the CME futures gap on Monday, that's fine. But if we do not see that, the next target's 75,000, right? So if we get a strong bounce, boom, we're going to 150. If we don't get a bounce, boom, we're dropping to 75. You need to be ready for either scenario. That is my counsel. Be ready for either scenario. Called 94, called 130. Yeah, we called for $130,000. Bitcoin got up to 126. We called for 130 when Bitcoin was at 112. Bitcoin got to 126. From there, after we corrected, we called for 94 to 100K. I'd say we pretty much nailed both of those calls. We undershot it just a little bit up here, but even actually as Bitcoin was at 126, in the first cohort Discord server trading group, a lot of people were thinking about going long. We exited a long up here, told everybody not to go in because Bitcoin's overextended. So when we actually got there, we kind of reversed that and said, no, we're probably going to go back down. Literally, like, we were looking at the chart live in the Discord server the minute we hit all-time high at 126.2. We watched it happen live. I was walking around my kitchen on my phone watching it. We said that this looks really overbought. We're probably going to fall over. 4 days later, you saw the 10-10 crash. We've nailed this call, this market lately. And what I'm telling you now is that we don't have enough information yet to know whether or not Bitcoin's going to bottom at 94. But what we do have right in front of us is that Bitcoin is about to make a very serious decision. And it's going to be pretty obvious which direction it's going to go after it's made that decision. So look, if you believe in what I'm saying, which is that we need to do long-term investment in Bitcoin, then I highly encourage you to check out one of our sponsors, which would be iTrust Capital. If you guys have not already signed up for iTrust Capital, you should. We're moving into a new year, which means you're going to have a new funding limit moving on into 2026 for your IRAs. We are working on setting up an SEP IRA for our own company to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in a tax advantage way. If you want to succeed in the long run, you have to do something about taxes and you have to do something about security. iTrust Capital is the best company in the entire industry to help you mitigate taxes and to maintain security for one reason. In each of those categories. Number one, when you use a retirement account, you get access to all kinds of tax benefits. So for example, if you use a traditional IRA, you get to write off all of the taxes that you would pay on the money that you put into the account. Similar thing with an SEP IRA, which I'll be talking about more in future content, especially as we get it set up for ourselves and start using it. A Roth IRA, you don't have to pay taxes on it when you distribute it, which is fantastic because when you actually withdraw, you don't have to pay the taxes. So if you haven't already signed up for iTrust Capital, you absolutely should. When you sign up and deposit funds into iTrust Capital, you will get a $100 funding bonus. You're going to get a whole $100 just for signing up and depositing funds, and also you'll get access to the institutional grade premium custody accounts. These are really significant because you do not have any risk of somebody hacking you. Basically, the way this works is it's a one-way in, one-way out account. You can only withdraw from your premium custody account, which is what holds your IRA. You can only withdraw from the premium custody account, the PCA, to the same bank account that you invested with, which means if somebody somehow did get your password and hacked you, they can't withdraw to a different account because you can only withdraw into your account. So it basically sets up the system as being completely unhackable because of the one-way in, one-way out structure. It's just as simple as that. You cannot send funds from iTrust Capital to anywhere else. You can only send it back to your bank account, which means what are they going to do? Hack you and send the money into your own bank account? Yeah, right. That's really all that scary. So you are very much protected with iTrust Capital, not only from hackers and thieves, but also from taxes. So if you haven't already, make sure to sign up, get your $100 funding bonus. You'll be very glad you did. All right, we're going to go ahead and just kind of go over a couple of things and we're going to wrap it out here. Hey, by the way, make sure to check out Stampseed too. Really big fan of Stampseed. If you haven't already, would really highly recommend checking out Stampseed for a similar reason. And that would basically just be that they're going to keep you safe while you cold store your Bitcoin. Because if you do not use something like Stampseed with the titanium, right? You can stamp your seed phrases into titanium. Then when you have a house fire, not when, but if you were to have a house fire, what ends up happening is that your seed phrases burn, right? Your seed phrases catch on fire and they burn. And so with titanium, it's able to withstand up to 3,000 degrees of Fahrenheit of heat. So if your house catches on fire and this is in your safe, your seed phrases will be fine. That is worth the price to pay. So very much something that you should definitely, check out if you guys haven't already. Make sure to come over here, get the Stampseed kits. $136. You get this dope hammer. I love this thing. It's really cool. Yeah. Good deal. So guys, make sure you check out both of them. But yeah. Cool. Let's see. What if you... Let's read a little bit of chat. BTC only, amen. Love Bitcoin. So 50% long position and 50% short position. Either way, it's going to make a big move. Make up the loss on the other. You can do that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Typically, what you want to do is you want to go into a long or a short as early as you can in a newly defined trend. Bitcoin is at the end of this trend, waiting to make another one. So I'm not long yet, but if Bitcoin starts setting in strong bottoms, especially if it fills the CME futures gap, that's where I would be willing to. That's where I'd be willing to go into a trade. BlackRock is expected to file for an ETF soon. Yep. Agreed. The rules have changed since institutions have moved into the game. Yep. Absolutely. Jeb knew everything. We got this one spot on. He's yelling to sound more convicted. No, I'm not yelling at you. Why are you so angry and yelling? No, I'm not yelling at you. I'm just impassioned. I mean, come on. What? Do you want me to push up my glasses and be like, we have some technical analysis here? Sound like some like weird stuck-up nerd like we've got some technical indicators to go over. Like, really? You want me to sound like that? Like if you want me to sound like someone who's like, you want to hear about some technical analysis? Like, I can do that. Nobody would like it. So, not going to do that. Not going to do that. Relax the voice. See, that's the voice. This is my voice. Hello. And like, that's, yeah. Love your content, the best in YouTube. Thank you so much. What's going on, Jeb? Hope your wife is recovering well. Been praying after seeing your ex post. Thank you. Yeah, we don't really know what's going on. We're getting some answers as time goes on. But it's going to take time to figure out what it is. It's just another trial that we have to walk through. Thanks for your work. And Jeb, best case scenario, how high could Bitcoin go end of year 2026? Best case scenario, Bitcoin could top $200,000 next year. Will it? Again, that is determined based on whether or not this uptrend holds. Pretty much the entirety of next year is determined by how this uptrend holds. The next week or two is going to give you so much information about what happens next year. Most of next year is going to be written like in the next week or two. He's rolling with it. Speaks highly for him. Thank you. No watch sponsor anymore. Man, Vincero are amazing. I love their watches. We're not currently sponsored by them, but I don't think I have it. I don't think I have one of their watches. But yeah, I do like them. Would be interested in a watch sponsor. Guys, got to wrap it out and go make today's video. So be on the lookout for that. But I do want to give you another big shout out before we wrap it out, and that would be from none other than NordVPN. Hey guys, haven't seen NordVPN in a while. We're really excited to have them back. NordVPN is a fantastic company. If you guys don't know already, you should absolutely sign up for Nord. Most of you probably already have it, but if you do not have NordVPN, there is a very serious reason why you should, and that is because cybersecurity is of the utmost concern. If you do not understand risk management, what you're going to do is you're going to put thousands of hours into building wealth, and you're going to lose all of it. Because someone's going to hack you, and somebody's going to get into your Coinbase, or somebody's going to find some seed phrases that you didn't realize you exported. They're going to find something. I have people, I am an influencer with hundreds of thousands of followers online. I get texts and phone calls at least 5 to 10 times a day from people trying to pretend to be Google or this or that. People are trying to fish and scam me all day long, every single day. Do you know that a few weeks ago, somebody went into our financial coaching and they set a bot which sent over 100 signups for financial coaching every single minute? Just completely spammed us, trying to basically do a DDoS on the system. Had to take it down, set it back up. People are always trying to come after our stuff, and they're trying to come after you as well. And on top of that, they're also buying your information and selling it to the highest bidder. NordVPN is going to keep you safe when you browse online. You need to have some kind of cybersecurity solution to keep yourself safe, because you're working with, some of you guys, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even if you're just working with thousands of dollars, the money that you're working with represents a fraction of your life. And so at some point, everyone realizes that the game goes from trying to build wealth and it shifts to trying to protect that wealth and let it grow on its own. Eventually, you make enough money where you realize it's not about really making more money. It's about protecting what you have. And so you need to have a solution for cybersecurity, and NordVPN is the best on the market. So if you've not already, go to nordvpn.com/Jeb, sign up, and get access to 4 months for free. It's an exclusive deal that you're going to get through us. So big shout out to Nord. Really appreciate their partnership with our channel. So if you haven't already, make sure to sign up for NordVPN with the link in the description box down below. Actually, this is the first day, so I need to put that in the description box. But for now, until I put that in the description, just go to nordvpn.com/Jeb. That will be in the description of every piece of content from here on out. We're going to wrap it out in the next 30 seconds or so. Just want to see if there's any final big questions that we have. Life is a scam. That's why we need Jesus. Amen to that. Amen to that. Jesus can walk on water. He's the man. Amen. Jesus Christ is the king over all creation. Submit your life to him. It is the best decision you will ever make. Today's episode is brought to you also by Jesus. Give your life to Jesus. We should just have him as a sponsor on the bottom. Just put a cross right over here. Put a cross. Today's episode and every episode is sponsored by Jesus. Yeah. Amen. Amen. Obviously, he's significantly more important than any of our sponsors. So it's the truth. Gotta take that very seriously. All right. Well, I appreciate all of you guys for being here. We're gonna have to wrap it out. I love you all. I love you all so much. If you're new here, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for more content, and stick around because in the next week or two, we're probably going to come up with a new model for where Bitcoin is going next. Our current our first model of the second half of the year was $130,000. We undershot that just a little bit. Our second model was $94,000. We hit it perfectly. So these were our two calls. We called for this right here, and we got this. Then we called for this, and we got this. And so we've been pretty spot on lately. I don't have enough confidence to make our next call yet, but as we start to get more information, then we will make our next call. So make sure to go ahead and smash that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content. I really appreciate all of you guys for being here. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.